Hello everyone! Please watch our sightseeing bus tour in Chester last Sunday, June 8th. And this is the part 2 video. Hopefully you watch my first part video. Thank you and enjoy watching!
To indicate you wish to leave the bus, please ring the bell to alert the driver. Please wait until the bus stops before descending the stairs. Turning left, we pass through the east in 1938. Immediately to its right, dating from the medieval period, sits the original gate, known as the Pepper Gate or the Water Gate. By the 1930s, with increasing traffic on the road, archway resulting in the newer, wider bridge being full time the spice merchants once lived and worked. Today there are restaurants and a shopping centre. Course of the original Roman roads. Only North Gate Street at the southern end is post-Roman, resulting in the staggered crossroads that we see today. For centuries, they lived on their estate outside the walls. The museum is named after Hugh Grosvenor, the first Duke of Westminster, who donated the land and also subscribed £4,000 towards the building costs. The museum contains numerous It was designed in the classical style by the architect Thomas Harrison. Building work commenced in 1788, but because it took another 34 years to complete, Harrison built a enable him to supervise the work. Today it houses the Military Museum and the Crown Courts remain famed in the place. Chester's famous racecourse can be seen ahead on the right. Horse racing began here in 1539, officially making it the oldest racecourse in the world. Before racing took place, the area was a sports ground of sorts. The old word for cross was rude, and one of the old words for an eyelid was an eve. And consequently, that's how the racecourse came by the name it's known as today, the Rudee, or the Isle of the Cross. The bus is now in an area known as Hanbridge, one of the oldest suburbs of the city. To both left and right is Overley Cemetery, developed by the Victorians in the 19th century. There is a section of war graves on the right. Famous dignitaries lie at rest here. Overley Cemetery opened in 1850 and is the resting place of many interesting characters. One such character was Edward Langtry, who died in Chester in 1897. He was the husband of the notorious London actress, Lily Langtry, who was the mistress of King Edward VII. The only mourners at Edward's 53 children, which included 15 sets of boy-girl twins, the highest number ever recorded. To the left,
St.
it was consecrated in 1887, replacing the Church of St. Mary's on the hill, which stands within the city walls. The worship of parkland known as Edgar's Field. Two large outcrops of the exposed quarry face can still be seen, and carved into one of the faces of the rock is a Roman shrine, dedicated to the goddess Minerva. According to legend, King Edgar, the first king of all England, had a palace here. When he visited this site in the 10th century, 8 vassal kings rowed him up the river to St. John's Church and then back again, to show their allegiance to him. The bus now crosses the river by the Old Field. It has been established that a Roman fort once stood here, and several wooden bridges stood here before the present stone bridge was built in the 13th century. To the right is Chester's Weir, which was built in the 11th century by Hugh Lupus, the first Norman earl, who owned the Dee Mills which once stood on the riverbank to the left of the bridge gate ahead. Immediately after the bridge gate and on the left is the Bear and Billet pub, which bears the date 1664. It was the last large black and white timber-framed building to be built in the city before newer brick buildings were introduced. We are now at Stop 10 Lower Bridge Street, a light here for the Chester Rose and the Diva Roman Discovery Centre. In 1622, as the Chester home of the Randall Hume family. They were wealthy merchants and constructed this lovely Grade 2 listed building out of second-hand ships' timbers that they acquired from the old port of Chester. Could this have been done for economy, or was it that the Randall Hume family were pioneers of recycling? That is so important today. And as can be seen, it leans very severely to one side. This is reputed to have occurred during the Civil War of the 17th century, when the building is said to have been struck by cannonballs fired by the invading parliamentarians who were very close to the city. Most people today suggest that it is due to old age, as the building displays the impressive date on its front of 1503 AD, funds at row level. As mentioned earlier, they are unique to Chester and can be found in all the four main streets of the city. The rows as we see them today have evolved over many years, with the base fabric of some of the 13th century buildings having survived. However, in the 19th century, they were heavily restored by the Victorians.
You've been here?
As the bus turns right at the roundabout, note the large circular building. The site was previously occupied by the Cheshire County Police Headquarters. The new building, built in 2010, immediately on the right is Chester's modern Magistrates Court. Designed by the Cheshire County Architects Department, it was built in 1991 in the style of a Roman villa. It was given a Civic Award in 1995 for blending a fine example of modern architecture into a historic site. Remaining in Chester. Similar properties which used to stand on the right were demolished in the 1960s to make way for the inner ring road. In the 19th century, the houses were mainly occupied by doctors who lived and practiced here, and hence the local people of the day nicknamed the street Pillbox Promenade. Take note of the fine black and white half-timbered building on the left, known as Stanley Palace. It was built in 1591 to be the townhouse of the Stanleys, a prominent Cheshire family. The three inner gables belong to the original house, but by the mid-19th century were in a state of disrepair. Of the city, where the River Dee flowed close to the city wall. We are now at stop 12 New Crane Street. A light here for the racecourse entrance and the Holiday Inn Express Hotel. In the Middle Ages, the crane wharves were situated just outside the watergate and ran along the west of the city wall. In 1558, Chester's port was recorded as second only to Bristol, as the leading port on the western coast of England. The gradual silting up of the river in the Middle Ages made the port difficult to use, and large vessels were eventually unable to reach Chester. In 1745, a new port area, New Crane Wharf, was established, enabling ships of up to 200 tons to. The complete decline and closure of the port took place in the 18th century. For the sailing ship, it is known by the locals as Noah's Ark and was built to be Chester's new scout headquarters. In total contrast on the right is the old water tower, which was built in 1322 at a cost of £100. It was built for two reasons. Firstly, to provide extra defence to the city, to provide moorings for the larger ships unable to reach the harbour. Canal and Tower Wharf are on the left. Ahead are three black and white staircase locks that were hewn out of solid rock in order to provide the ways and means of lowering barges some 33 feet between the lower canal basin. These locks, together with the canal basin, were designed by Thomas Telford, the famous engineer, at another 25 years before it became an important canal port. Just before we go under the North Gate, look to the right. This building used to be the Earl of Chester's Fire Brigade Station. This was Chester's purpose-built fire station, and in 1971 then became a court of law, and in 1997 was transformed into the restaurant we see today. Finally completed in 1869, the 160-foot tall building was officially opened by the future King Edward VII and cost £40,000 to build. The building still to this day remains a centre of activity for many civic events, royal visits and ceremonial occasions. And a newly updated cinema. A great place to meet friends and family and see a much-loved show. The building was closed in the 1990s and has been redeveloped for apartments and housing. You can obtain a discount on your next city sightseeing tour. In the medieval period, it was known as Cow Lane because the cattle were driven along here to the markets and the slaughterhouses. Excavations nearby have uncovered a large area of hard-beaten clay ground surrounded by earth banks, which suggests there was a Roman parade ground here about 2,000 years ago. Part of the original Roman fortress walls lies behind the shops to the right. Beyond the apartments is the Leadshot Tower. It was built in 1799, and by 1801 it was manufacturing lead shot or musket balls to be used in the Napoleonic Wars. Before the bus turns to the left, the last building on the right is the Queen Hotel. Built by the railway companies in 1860, it was the most prestigious hotel in the area and was specifically built to accommodate first-class tourists coming into the city via the railway. The main entrance of the Queen Hotel is actually facing the railway station. Above this entrance stands a statue of Queen Victoria. Brassey died in 1870. Such was the magnitude of his work. He left £3.2 million, a vast amount of money in those days. The foundation stone for the station was laid in August 1847, and the grand opening took place on August the 1st, 1848, that it took less than a year to reach completion. An extraordinary achievement. Notable London architect Francis Thompson designed the building in the elegant Italianate style, but the building was owned by the Chester Cocoa House Company Limited. Cocoa houses were built by members of the Temperance Society to combat the scourge of alcohol amongst the poor. It was hoped they would draw the attention from the 365 pubs that existed in the city at that time. Directly ahead of us, Chester's imposing cathedral. In approximately AD, a small Saxon timber church dedicated to St. Peter and St. Paul was founded here by King Wulfhere, father of St. Werburgh. St. Werburgh was born in the 7th century, and she became a revered nun in the Saxon kingdom of Mercia, the church within the fortified walls. A shrine built to house the relics still stands in the cathedral today. Planet Earth, which featured the amazing super trees in Singapore, which vary in height between 25 and 50 metres, to be the present-day Roman Catholic cathedral. Designed by the Liverpool architect Edmund Kirby and built in light grey stone, it was commissioned in 1873, although the building work was only completed in 1914. Stacks is the Victorian public swimming baths. Built by John Douglas. We are now about to enter Suitors Lane. Please be aware that tree branches may occasionally overhang the bus. Suitor is the old word for a shoemaker, and anyone who worked with leather had their tanneries in this area. Stop 6, the Groves. Alight here for river trips, riverside walks and boat hire. The river trip takes half an hour, and upon your return, another tour bus will arrive to take you on with the rest of your tour.